Hey guys, we are in the basement, and today guys, on this episode of John's Arcade, well guys, buckle up because this is gonna be an awesome, I mean awesome, like seriously awesome episode. I am not kidding, and yes, I am back. You know, last weekend was the BroFest tournament up at Fun Spot in New Hampshire, and that was truly a great event. Thanks to everyone that came out. And then this weekend right here was the Southern Fried Game Room Expo down in Atlanta. Actually, I just got home a few hours ago. But I was very excited to edit this video and get it out because really, we're gonna talk about some very cool stuff in this video. I am not kidding. And before we talk about it, I wanna thank everyone I met down in Atlanta. I mean, honestly, the people down south, very nice. I'm not kidding. So thanks to everyone I met. Thanks to everyone that came to my little seminars. It was an awesome event. And of course, thanks to Preston from the Game Room Junkies podcast that puts the event on. That guy killed it. He nailed it. He really knows how to put an event on. So anyway, if you ever get a chance to go to this event next year, go. It's a great, great event. Okay, so in this video right here, we're gonna talk about a Nintendo arcade game that was never released. It was called Sky Skipper, okay? It's actually in Maine, but it was never released in the arcades. And actually Nintendo in Redmond, Washington actually has the last and only known game, okay? But the PCBs somehow got into the wild. And my friend Alex in the UK found one of these PCBs. And by the way, Alex has a YouTube channel called Nintendo Arcade here on YouTube. Go check it out. Alex is a hardcore Nintendo collector. He's got the rarest of the rare, all the rare arcade games. He also does game room tours in the arcade. Go check out, in the UK arcades, go check out his channel, Nintendo Arcade. Anyway, he finds the PCB, he gets it working, he hooks up with Whitney from the Broken Token podcast here in the US. They get a hold of Nintendo. They go there, they scan the artwork. You know, I don't want to ruin the story. It's all in this video. And actually, this video is 3 parts, basically, okay? I filmed this video over the course of 3 days. The first part is me talking with Alex and Whitney, one-on-one, in a closed room with the game all wrapped up, okay? And they're going to give us the whole backstory. It's very interesting. And then day 2, part number 2, we're going to go to the unveiling, because they had a public unveiling at the event, and they had a black tarp over it, and Billy Mitchell was there, and Walter Day. So that's part number 2, the unveiling to the public. And then part number 3, which we actually filmed today, this morning. God, that seems so long ago. It's 11 o'clock at night. I should go to bed. But anyway, part 3 we filmed this morning. We're in another closed room, and the game's been unveiled, and basically Alex and Whitney and I go through the whole game. They explain the process, how they made the game. We look at the PCB. It's an all-access video, guys. These guys gave me the privilege, and truly I'm honored to document this whole weekend, and really this is a great video, and such an important, oh my God, and such an important part of video game history. All right, guys, let's go to Atlanta. All right, guys, we're in Atlanta, Georgia at the Southern Fried Game Room Expo. It's actually Saturday, about 10 o'clock in the morning. The show opens at 4 today, but I want to show you guys something in here. And by the way, Preston and Patrick, hey. Game Room Junkies. So over here, I have Alex, Nintendo Arcade,
How you doing,
and Whitney from Broken Token.
Yep.
Now, guys, we're going to be talking about this in this video.
Okay.
And I'm kind of excited about what's inside these many boxes.
Yeah, yes, lots of postal service boxes. Yeah, tons.
So I think everyone knows what's inside here, and tomorrow we're going to open it up. You're going to open it up and reveal it to everybody. But let's kind of talk about this, because Alex, you and I were talking about this a couple years ago,
right.
And you guys really saw this through. So what is in here?
This is an unreleased game by Nintendo, right?
Right.
They put it
Unreleased.
Unreleased. They didn't release. They put it on location.
Yep.
In 12 machines.
12 machines were made, and they did play testing and earn testing in Seattle.
And it just didn't fare well.
So was it released in Japan? And by the way, the game is Sky Skipper.
Well,
the game,
yeah, Sky Skipper. Well, they made flyers, there's Japanese flyers, but as far as we know, we've never seen any.
Yeah, when we were talking to the folks at Nintendo, they told us that it was not released in Japan. Now,
No kidding.
That is correct. Now, We don't know that didn't actually. We don't know that may have happened or not. There may have been a few that made it out.
Right.
But from a historical record standpoint, no.
No. And so the story is this, Alex, you found the PCBs.
Yes.
And they were Popeye PCBs,
That's
right?
Well, there was a guy in Sweden that had one, and he was trying to re-engineer it back to Sky Skipper. And he's.
But how did he know it was a Sky Skipper board originally?
Well, I guess with the ROM set on the board.
Oh.
It's already dumped into MAME, you see. Mm-hmm. And the code was different on the board. It was TNX1. Okay.
Okay, so help me understand. So the board was Popeye or was it Sky
It's a
Skipper?
Sky Skipper board, but Nintendo had modified it to play Popeye.
Okay.
Obviously to save the hardware because it was expensive.
Right, so they took the Sky Skipper PCB because it was a dud.
Yeah.
They made it Popeye and they sold it to someone for route.
Yes.
Right? But again, how did you know it was a Sky Skipper board? Because the code was different, right?
Yeah, well, I guess it's just the way the board's set up, isn't it? It must be
Yeah.
different
And I know you had the daughter cards because
Yes.
it had the TNX01
That's right, yeah.
on the PCBs, but it had the two daughter cards, the TPP conversion
Yeah, like an
cards
expansion
that sit
kit.
over top. They were like
on
expansion
top
cards.
of the board.
Yeah.
So you could tell it was completely different than a Popeye
So the
board.
expansion board was to make it a Popeye?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Correct.
And then so your guy figured out how to reverse engineer it or just
Yes.
remove the mods basically, right?
Yeah, well, it was a lot of work because there was a security chip on the board as well, which you had to get round. So
Okay.
it took a long time to work out.
It took a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did it all without schematics.
Yes,
I
that's
mean,
the
he
incredible
reverse
thing.
engineered the entire thing with no schematics. Because
crazy.
It is crazy because at this point there's no published schematic package for this game, and there's no published manual that we have been able to find at this point.
Right.
So
the only thing that exists is the flyer
is the flyer.
and the ROMs and MAME,
Yeah.
which
ROMs and
and there's a story behind that too.
Yes, there is.
Can you tell that story?
I can. Well, at the time...
Because I've played this game in MAME.
Yeah,
Right?
there was a-
And
there was-
it always confused me too because it's such an odd game.
It
Really.
is, yeah. Well, there was a company next door to Nintendo's headquarters called Factor 5, and they were making games for Nintendo, like the Star Wars games and Super Turrican. Mm-hmm. And of course, they were probably in cahoots with each other and probably got on quite well. And they invited him to see, or I don't know whether they invited him or not, but he got to see the Sky Skipper, which was in NOA, and the board was taken out of the cabinet and then dumped into MAME. But I was told not to tell that story.
I know. That's why I
I don't want to get
said.
anyone into trouble, but I've not mentioned any names. I think it's fine. It's all in the past now.
Right. Well, it's good. It's part of the history here, though,
Yeah,
because
it is.
because when you said you got these boards, and I knew I played the game in MAME, I didn't think it was that rare. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
it must have been out in Japan, like widespread,
Yeah.
because it's in MAME. But that's not the case at all.
Well, I didn't really know the rarity of it either, really, until
Yeah.
the story was started to unfold. You know.
Right.
But Mark couldn't do the engineering because he didn't have the schematics, and we only had one board, and that was the guy in Sweden. He said, if you can find another board, then it's easier to do the reverse engineering. And only 3 months later,
You found another board.
I found another one.
Jesus.
Which is just unbelievable. Because I joked with Ollie, you know Alpha 1, Ollie?
Yeah.
We were driving up there, and I just joked with him about
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
You know, what are the chances of me finding a Sky Skipper? How crazy is that?
Completely crazy.
Yeah. And then he's pulling it down there. He hates Popeye. So
Yeah.
he's pulled this ball down. Here, Alex has got Popeye on it. Here, you have that. Right?
And it's a freaking
and I
Sky
looked at-
Skipper.
Yeah. I looked at it straight away. It's TNX. My blood left my body. You know what I mean? It was just incredible. And he was gutted that he'd just given me this Sky Skipper.
Okay, so
yeah.
you guys got the boards. You figure it out. You get
Yeah.
it to work. You get it to boot. You're running
Yeah.
it in a Popeye cabinet, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then what happens next?
Well, I do the video,
Yes.
which you saw.
Yes.
And I wanted to sell one of the boards. I didn't
Right,
want to
and
keep
we
both
talked
of them.
about that.
We talked. And I did offer it to you, and, but you had other commitments. That's
Right.
fair enough.
Sure.
But I wanted to go to a Nintendo collector. It wasn't
Yeah.
about the money, really.
Yeah, yeah.
It was about, someone who's passionate about
Sure.
Nintendo games. And this guy came along, and he was perfect.
Right.
And with his contacts stateside,
Yeah.
with Billy Mitchell, Water Day, and we managed to get the ball rolling this side, which helped a lot. Without you, I wouldn't have been able to get it this far.
Right,
I
because
appreciate
what's
it. Yeah.
because
Thank you.
what's
Yeah.
inside here that we're going to see tomorrow and later in the video.
Yeah.
Because you actually went to Nintendo.
I did. So
And how did that start and go? And how did you even get to talk to someone?
well, Alex and I talked about where we were from a gap perspective on the project. I mean, we had running boards, And that's fine because you could play the game, but that doesn't get, quote, the game that everybody's going to want to see back in people's hands.
You want the flyer.
You want the flyer. You want the artwork. And so if you're going to go full term on this and if you're going to do it right, you've got to have a production quality cabinet that people can latch on to. Because anybody can play a PCB stuck in a Popeye cabinet.
Right.
So Alex and I sat here and talked it through and said, okay, if we're going to do this, the only way to carry this to term is we have got to restore a cabinet completely. Because just road showing a couple of PCBs that's not
right. And the thing is, though, you have nothing to go on. There's just a flyer with really low res little things on there and some odd color images that are on the internet somehow.
And you know, John, we had committed to restoring the games and recreating the artwork package, even if that's all we ever had. Okay,
right? You're going to figure it out.
We were going to figure it out, and how'd you say fill in the gaps? Exactly is what we were going to do. But over the course of several months, I just kind of reached back through some contacts that I had. Alex and I talked it through. And I had talked to Billy Mitchell and known Billy Mitchell for about a year or so prior to getting him officially involved in the project. And Alex and I were talking one night, and I said, you know what, Alex, I bet if there's any way that the rumor is true that there was a Sky Skipper at NOA, in the break room at NOA at some point in the past, somebody at Nintendo is going to know possibly where that thing went. And we can get at least a lead on who might have it today, where did it go, and if it's not destroyed, then we can chase that person down. It may take another 6 months, but you know what? Everybody's waited 35 years, we're dug in, we're going to get it done. So I went to Billy Mitchell, set up the conversation with him. He was 110% from day one supportive of our work, and he wanted to partner with us from the get-go. And he has been nothing but helpful and a great guy to work with. Now, he did want to make sure that we were legit and not just somebody coming to him and asking him for a favor.
Right.
So I told him the backstory. Alex and I got on him with Skype, and we went through the entire history of what we're trying to accomplish, what we're trying to do, what we have, what we don't have, where the gaps are, and what our end run is. And then Billy, once he knew that we were legitimate and we were dedicated to this and we're going to see it through, then he started making a few calls. And then once he started making a few calls, we got in touch with a couple of people that used to work at Nintendo, one here stateside, and then one who lives in the UK. And then we talked to them, told the story to them. And then over the course of the next month or so, they got us in touch with somebody at NOA. And then we had to go through the process all over again. Tell the story. What are we trying to do? Why this is legitimate? Why we're trying to preserve a piece of Nintendo's history and make sure that it doesn't get lost. So over the course of many months, we finally got to the point where NOA was receptive of what we were going to do, and they were bought into helping us. And at that point, we were able to confirm that the one machine that was in the break room was still at NOA.
Amazing.
And you want to talk about such a stroke of luck, because that thing has sat there in their archives for 35 years and hasn't gone anywhere. And
Billy did play it, didn't he?
Billy did play it when he was there.
So Billy knew about the cabinet.
When he got the world record at Donkey Kong, he was invited into NOA.
And
he actually got to play it.
Yes.
So he validated that it was there. He verified it, right?
And you know what was funny is when I was talking to Billy on the phone for the first time, and I mentioned Sky Skipper, he goes, whoa. He said, did you just say Sky Skipper? And I'm like, yeah. He goes, now that's a game that I haven't heard about in 30 years. He goes, you know, I used to play that game when I was in NOA back in the day, and I'm like, oh man, I wanted to pick up my phone and go, Alex, I think we got something here. I don't know.
What a cool story!
It's awesome, and so fast forward, and we set up the conversation with NOA, and like I say, they were very receptive and supportive of the work that we were doing, and they did confirm that they had the cabinet. And they offered to take some pictures for us, and them taking pictures would have been great, because we could have then had the color palette confirmed for the artwork and everything like that. But we went ahead and went out on a limb, and you know, John, if you don't ask, you're never going to get.
Right.
And so Alex and I said, okay, what would be the chances that they would say yes if we ask them if we could just pack up a scanner and then waltz in and scan the cabinet?
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, let's just go for pay dirt and see if it happens. And so we made the ask, and about a day later, it didn't take them long, which was awesome, because I guess they were really bought in. and about a day later, they responded back and they said, if you can get here, we'll get it out for you. Yeah. You're fine to come on in and do that.
So you went only, though. You didn't go out, right?
I didn't go, no.
You should have went.
Oh, no, I know, because you should have seen the gifts that he got.
Oh, really?
Nintendo took such good care of me.
Oh, Alex.
Yeah.
I would have gone in it's like a dream.
Well, Alex and I were on the phone, and I was there waiting in the lobby, and as soon as my proctor came down to get me, to take me back to where the cabinet was, Alex and I were talking on the phone. I'm like, dude, I don't mean to hang up on you, but and then it's like in the pocket, and I'm gone.
And he had his checklist of things to take, and he forgot the keys to the back door.
It was horrible.
I was like, dude, I need to see the PCB to make sure it coincides with the ones that I got. Do you know what I mean? Because I didn't really know 100% that mine were Skipper until I saw it in that cabinet.
Yeah, but it was so great. I mean, we had the checklist and everything. We checked it 14 times. We were going full on Santa Claus on it. Yeah. And we get out there, and I forget a set of tackage and keys to get into the cabinet.
I've got one on my key ring all the time.
Well, I do now. I do now.
6510.
Yeah, that's right. And it's, here's the thing. Look at here. Right here, baby. Right here. All the time.
Right next to my house key.
Exactly, and the thing is, we get out there, and I talked to the proctor, and I told that person, I'm like, listen, I have got everything in the kitchen sink inside this Pelican case, but I don't have a set of keys. And she reached in her pocket and she said, I've got you covered.
Oh,
and
really?
I'm like, that is so awesome.
Okay.
Thank you.
So she opened it up and you took photos of how it was all wired and set up.
That's exactly right.
Did it look a lot different than like a Popeye or something?
No, it looked exactly the same. It didn't have the
RF cage?
daughter boards on there.
Okay.
So,
no RF
it was a
cage.
No RF cage?
No, but it had a PP900A power supply, so we were able to confirm the voltages that it ran on. So it doesn't need the additional voltages for like a Donkey Kong or a Donkey Kong Jr. PCB or anything like that.
Yep.
So it runs straight off a Popeye power supply.
Yeah, 22 on the clock, which was interesting. So
22,000 plays.
22,000 plays.
The one at Nintendo.
Yes, because it had been earn testing in the Seattle area.
Right.
And so when it didn't pass, when Nintendo of Japan passed the word down to NOA to scrap the project, they pulled it off location, destroyed the 11 other cabinets that they had, because they had 12, and they were directed to destroy them all.
No kidding.
And they wound up in our one guy at Nintendo that has been so good to us. He is the guy who is responsible for this cabinet sitting right here today.
That's amazing. What a great guy.
Because instead of destroying all 12, they destroyed 11, and he kept one for historical reference and historical purposes.
0001.
Yeah, serial number 1.
It's got that serial number on the back?
It does. It does. So
what's the model number for this? Does it have one?
We're going to do 12 and 13.
No, 13 and 14.
Sorry, 13 and 14.
Yes. So this one will be serial number 13.
But the model though,
it's TNX.
Yeah.
Okay,
TNX 01. TNX 01 UP-US.
Okay.
Is what it's going to be.
Is that what the tag was on at the one in Nintendo?
The one at Nintendo didn't work, unfortunately.
Yeah. Oh, it did not.
No. It did not fire up. It would not boot. I turned it on, and it would just power up to a gray screen. So the board was outputting something, because as you know, if you power up a Sanyo monitor with no signal whatsoever, it's white. The screen's white. The screen was not white. The screen was gray, and it had a bit of an oscillating effect to it. So
did you reseat the Z80?
No. Let me tell you, I didn't touch that, because
I would have pulled my screwdriver out.
It's like it's like, I think these will fix it. How about that? And no way. So no, John, I didn't touch the board.
Right.
I was very, very respectful. Naturally,
that's so great.
As anybody would be. I was very respectful to everything that was there.
Okay, so you're there. You have this checklist. And then you had a little hand scanner. You scanned the site art?
Yeah, so I took a laptop with me, and I had a flatbed, like one of the HP photo scanners.
Yep.
It's one of the squares that you can see through.
I remember those, yeah.
So I
just held it up.
So I literally held it onto the side of the cabinet, and then scanned one side of the cabinet, ran around, scanned the other side of the cabinet, And then they did let me take the marquee off, and they did let me take the bezel off.
So how'd you handle the control panel? Did you remove the joysticks and stuff?
No, I did not. And what I did is I scanned as much as I could up to the joystick, because I didn't want to look like I didn't want to look any weirder than I am. Okay, already.
Really?
Yeah, exactly. And so I didn't want to pull the joystick apart. I didn't want to be there, and I didn't want to make them look at me and say, "We regret doing this."
Yeah. Right.
Because this guy's coming here and he's taking our cabinet apart, and it won't go back together the way that it was.
Yeah.
So the control panel was a bit of foregone conclusion. I looked at it and I'm like, okay, we're gonna have to do the best that we can. So I scanned up to the joystick, and then from the right side going left, and then I scanned from the left side going right, and then the piece where the piece of the CPO where the joystick is, I got my digital camera out and my Canon camera, and I just took a lot of pictures around there, around the joystick, and then we went back into Photoshop and just stitched it all back together.
Right.
Is what we did, and then sized it properly and everything like that. So that was the best option that we had.
Right.
Everything else on the cabinet 100% scanned.
Was scanned. And then did you guys vectorize it, or did you print from the raster?
So portions were vectorized, portions were printed from the raster.
Okay.
So everything was sized properly. There really wasn't a need to go in and vectorize everything.
Right.
But there were bits and pieces that had to be vectorized just to make up for like lost parts and everything like that.
Right.
So there was a bit of work there. Honestly, I think the bulk of the work really wasn't in recreating the base of it. It was in fixing all of the color issues, in the gradient issues, and everything like that.
So you were telling me earlier that the artwork was sun faded?
Badly sun faded.
So how did you approximate then what the colors should be?
Well,
we had other bits of artwork, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
I had a Japanese sort of advertisement magazine. There was bits of colours on that we could take.
there were.
So you knew like over here should be red, and you said, but it's pink. It's pink now.
You know what Nintendo red looks like,
right?
Don't you? So we just used bits like that from
We
other
did.
Nintendo colours.
But the artwork that you scanned was more pinkish or something.
It was.
Yeah.
You can tell it was sun faded, but I think this is the portion of the story where we've got to give a shout out to Rich at this whole game.
Yeah.
Because we worked our third teammate Ollie, who did the bulk of the artwork. And we would check it with Ollie and then do some color corrections and everything like that. And then when we knew here stateside that we were going to work with Rich on reprinting the package, we know, and everybody knows, Rich is really the ultimate authority when it comes to a lot of this stuff.
I would agree.
Yes.
He's the best when it comes to repro.
He's the best. And so we got the artwork over to Rich, and we gave him plenty of time. We didn't want to rush this or anything like that. We didn't want to drop a problem on Rich's plate. But once Rich saw the artwork and he gave it an initial eye over, he said, okay, in order for this to be, quote, Nintendo, he said, we're going to have to make some changes to this. The color palettes, he said, the reds are wrong, the yellows are wrong, the browns are wrong. And honestly, when you see this on video, guys, it pops. I mean,
I cannot wait till we open this.
Yeah,
can we just open it now?
Yeah, and it pops so beautifully.
So many characters.
Yeah,
so much color, so vibrant.
Yeah,
it's cool.
Nintendo.
There's like card things on it, right?
Yeah, Nintendo used to do the cards. Didn't
they did the Hanafudo cards and all that. Yeah,
right. So it's kind of taken that theme into the game, which is really cool.
But in a lot of ways, we owe the visual clarity of this and just the quote Nintendo feel. We owe that to Rich.
So he just put it over the edge, pushed it over the edge.
Rich put it over the top. He did. Yes.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
All right, so here it is. Is there anything else that we should be talking about as far as the history and how it got here?
Well, how it got here.
So where was this put together? At your place?
At my house in my basement.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. And so we started with this was originally a Nintendo Versus cabinet, completely gutted. Okay,
Now wait a second.
Yeah.
Well, but it's a Donkey Kong style cabinet.
It is a Donkey Kong style cabinet, a Versus Unisystem upright. Let me clarify that.
But it was a conversion, right?
It was a conversion.
Yeah. So it was something else before the Versus.
It was something else before the Versus, but it had the Versus tag on it and everything like that.
Sure.
And I have no.
So someone installed the Versus kit in either a Popeye or Donkey Kong. Is it blue?
It is blue.
Yeah.
It was blue, and it is blue.
Okay.
So the interesting thing about this is, I can't ever verify what it was beforehand because this was one of the Versus cabinets that was sub-licensed by Atari. and then released with the Atari versions of the Unisystem games.
What?
Yeah, because this thing.
What are you talking about?
This thing had, yeah, and I didn't know about that either. But this had Atari Sunnyvale, California stickers, like staple stickers on the back of it.
Could it have been an operator in the area, or
maybe? I don't know.
Huh.
But it was.
I've never heard of that.
It was the weirdest thing. I mean, I've got the pic. I took pictures of the back and everything.
Atari did bring out Popeye, didn't they?
I don't know if they did or not. Did they?
Yeah,
okay.
Was that like in Ireland or something, or somewhere else abroad?
So. Yeah, it's like an Atari Popeye.
Interesting.
Manual.
Yeah, but this had Atari serial number stickers on the back of it. It had Atari FCC ID stickers on the back of it, and it had an Atari monitor manual stuck in the bottom of it. So
okay, Atari did use the Sanyo 20 EZs, like in the Namco System 1 cabinets.
Yeah, and it had that in it. So it was honestly, it was kind of a.
I mean, could it have been like an RBI baseball kit or something that was in there?
Well, there was
that's
a lot,
Atari, right?
There was a lot of boards in it. I didn't realize it when I bought it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I pulled this out of a church, and
it was just full of boards.
It was full of versus boards.
That's great.
I bought it as a Super Mario.
Yeah.
And I get it home, and it had a total of like 5 versus boards stuck inside the cabinet.
That's good. That's crazy. A great find.
Yeah.
So a great candidate for
right.
Fantastic candidate.
Okay, so it's a Donkey Kong style cabinet.
It is.
Whatever it was before.
Yeah, we don't
right.
know.
Yeah. It's probably Popeye or Donkey Kong.
Yeah, it would be. And so completely stripped the cabinet. It was beat up pretty bad.
Is it the original blue still?
No. It's the original color. I mean,
but it's not the original Nintendo finish. You painted it.
No, we laminated.
Oh, you did laminate it?
Yes, we laminated. So we found
a little sneak peek up there.
Yeah, there's a little blue right there. That's all we can show right now. But no, we stripped the cabinet, bondoed it, and I had a good friend of mine, Jonathan, come up and help me with it.
Yep.
Because applying laminate is a 2-man job. Okay.
No, it's not.
John's arcade.
I have videos to prove it.
Well, let's put it this way: it was my first time laminating it, so it was a 2-man job. Okay, how about that? And I have no problem saying it. I needed the help.
Yeah.
Because I'd never laminated.
Well, it's hairy. It's scary.
It's scary.
You only get one shot.
Well, and that's it, John. It is a one-time only scenario.
Right.
And at the cost of the laminate, you can't make that mistake twice. And then pulling the laminate off and going and cleaning the surface and going again.
Yeah.
You don't do that.
No, you're not. That's not happening.
No. So I had a good buddy of mine who offered to help, and so over the course of a weekend, we stripped the cabinet, we bondoed the entire cabinet, patched it up, fixed all the holes and the problems, the dents and the dings, and then we laminated the cabinet and then routed it clean and everything like that. And this cabinet, I have no problem saying it. I think Alex would back me up. This cabinet is 100% factory fresh. I mean, it looks so good.
Amazing. I cannot wait to see it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks for doing it. Thanks for bringing it here. Thanks for sharing it with the world.
Yeah, no problem.
So we're going to cut away and we're going to come back.
Okay.
And we're going to be in the show. It's going to be the next day.
Okay.
Awesome. And we're going to, unwrap this? Is that what's happening?
Man.
Oh, yeah. So I think, tomorrow morning we've got like a bit of a reveal ceremony.
Yeah.
We have Billy Mitchell and Walter Day is going to be up there with us.
Awesome. So when we come back, we're going to be doing that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And then we can open it up and look inside, right?
Yes, sir. We have no problem showing. And I'll say we went to great lengths to make sure that this is legit, 100% historically accurate inside and out.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, guys, we'll be right back.
All right, thanks.
All right, guys, this is the next day here, and they're getting ready to unveil the Sky Skipper. So Billy Mitchell's here. Walter Day is over there. So Alex,
Yes, man.
are you excited?
Yeah, I'm excited for the game.
What?
I'm excited for the game.
Right. So this is
before?
What's that?
Have you ever been to
a game reveal?
Yeah.
What? When's the last time someone did something like this? Like 1981? What? The big arcade
You
game?
do it on your channel quite a lot. You unveil a game, don't you?
Oh yeah, like a random Craigslist purchase.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly.
Well, this is exciting, man.
Yeah.
So they're about to remove the blanket here and show the Sky Skipper, and Billy's here, Walter's over there. So we'll come back in a second here. There's a crowd waiting. Exciting.
A long time ago, in Ottumwa, Iowa, we started the U.S. National Video Game Team, which essentially now is recognized as history's first esports team. And we did something that really hadn't been done at that time. We did a major road trip at our own well, it's not completely at our own expense. We did have paid sponsors, but we got in a bus full of games. It was 53 feet long or something like that. And we started touring the nation, doing promotions different places.
And breaking down.
And breaking down like 7 times before finally it didn't survive the 7th breakdown. And we got in a brand new car and went 90 miles per hour with him driving for the rest of the trip. And so we went a lot of places. We went to Ohio, we went to Illinois, we went to Michigan, we went to Minneapolis, we went to Omaha, we went to Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, Moscow, Idaho, Seattle, we went to all over California. But when we got to Seattle, we visited Nintendo. And Nintendo was a place, well, they were very dynamic and they're full of a lot of activity and a lot of things going on. And inside their offices, they had an actual in-house arcade. And not only were there successful titles like Donkey Kong there and so forth and so on, they also had some of the things that just didn't make it to the next stage or the next stage or the next stage of development and being rolled out. And one of those games that we played there, that we probably have the most unique distinction, having been amongst the few people in history to ever seen Sky Skipper. They had one Sky Skipper, and Billy will remember better than I was. Were there only like 4 in existence, weren't there?
No, they had actually created 12, and they decided not to mass produce it. They actually shredded, for lack of a better term, shredded 11 of them, and the one in the break room was the only one that still existed. They don't have any sentimental value towards games. They do for money, but not games. We were there, we were actually kind of a nuisance. They knew me just a little bit, and they didn't know any of the other guys because they didn't care. Maybe they still don't. But the fact of the matter is, we played the game, and I had assumed at the time, I didn't know that 11 of them were shredded. Going to places like Sega or Nintendo, we often learn that the games they produced that they didn't put out, they used to donate to the military, and they'd be off on aircraft carriers and arcades, things like that. I assumed that's where they were. And I'm 100% confident that up until a few months ago, there's only one person, she knows who she is in this room, who even would know what Sky Skipper ever was. And so the fact of the matter is, I thought it was a game that I had just seen, and anytime I spoke of it, everybody just scratched their head and didn't remember anything. As a matter of fact, the guys who we travel there with, who were there in the break room with us, I say, remember we played Sky Skipper? No. So, I mean, there was nobody even to speak to of it. But the fact is, yesterday, we talked about the games that we all played, the games that were our passion, and how now we embrace it because it's what we did, it's what we loved, and now people are beginning to embrace it more and more. And this is a different segment because this is something that should have otherwise just been lost to history, as this game since 1992 has been tucked away in a Nintendo warehouse and has never ever seen light of day.
So, essentially, we were there, we played Sky Skipper. Billy and I in particular remembered it for different reasons that will be unveiled as the days goes on and the game's revealed. But here's the most special thing I want to bring out of this experience from me and Billy. If you'll look around the room, you'll notice there's a lot of people here. We were worried there were going to be 5 or 4 or 3 people in the audience.
Especially so early.
Oh, yeah. Now, to me, here's the reason why this phenomena is happening. The collective gamers, classic gamers and collectors and people who are now really becoming historians, a lot of you people have actually become what we could call technically historians, but it sort of snuck up on you without you realizing it because you were just doing what was dear to your heart, what you love to do. You got out there and you started researching games. You started finding with your creativity and spending money out of your wallet, you begin to find pieces that you needed so that you could bring your own games back to life, do the research for those games, help redesign them or get them put back together. And you're essentially doing a lot of the fundamental acts that a person does who's a professional historian or a professional museum curator. And for the example of the guys who put together the Sky Skipper that we'll be seeing and discussing as the day goes on, they actually are literally like paleontologists or archaeologists, because like an archaeologist now, they will find certain aspects of like prehistory, and they'll study those analyze those, they'll write up things about them, and they'll generally turn them into like a museum presentation or even a paper that gets published in a scientific journal. So this is a video game collector's version excuse me, of scientists actually doing the research, making the discoveries, and now publishing for everybody to see. You guys are their scientific journal. This is their publication of their research and their findings in the history of of arcade history. Finding something that otherwise was forgotten, bringing it back to life, putting it all together, and now here is what they have to present to you. And so I like to view you guys as that, you know how in a lot of the different kinds of movies, there'll be some guy up there with a discovery, and there'll be all these guys out there wearing, be stuck those glasses and those funny goatees, like a 1890s French, board of scientists or something. So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if Billy has anything else to say, but...
Absolutely. So in 77, Death Race came out, and you actually got a car and you're running over little stick people. Yeah. And people enjoyed it, and it caused some municipalities to ban video games because of the violence and where it would lead. And so then what was so unique about this was we were there, it's 1983, and in caption, like a cartoon, he says, "Damn it, I'll escape." He actually says the word "damn it." Imagine that, cussing in a video game. Oh my God. And we were always wondering, why did they not release it? Was it not good enough? Was it because it was too violent with cuss words? When you see this, you're gonna see how absurd that is. But we never knew, and actually we don't still know yet with the research, the history as to why they didn't release it. But it was very fun and very unique. But what happened was, Mr. Whitney called me because he had a problem. Boy, you're under the bus now.
Always under the bus.
He had a problem. He had been working on this and putting it together with Alex for a long time, and he had just hit a roadblock. He says, I can't get anywhere with Nintendo. And he says they won't return my calls. And I says, no, it's worse than that. They won't even accept a message from you, will they? And he goes, no, they won't. They're like a very secret society. I can think of 2 people that have had success reaching Nintendo that before this. They're a very enclosed society. So I said, okay, I says, no, I think I know who to call and how to make things begin to roll forward. And we began to share all of our information, which is what really caused things to hit the gas pedal about 6 months ago. Mr. Whitney, we need you. What he did was, he actually acknowledged to me shortly before we started here. He said, Billy, I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm terrified. So we'll see how he does, especially you.
All right, Alex, you want to go ahead and start it up?
Well, I just want to say thank you very much for inviting me over here. My first time in the United States, so a little bit nervous in front of all these Americans. But yeah, what a journey. I never thought in my wildest dreams that this little game would take me all the way to the good old United States. It's unbelievable. I found this game 2 years ago now, and I was actively searching for it because I'm a big Nintendo collector. I collect all of the early Nintendo games, especially the games that weren't programmed by Nintendo. There's a company called Ikegami that did all the coding for Nintendo in the early days, and my dream really was just to collect all of those type of games, right up to Donkey Kong. The first game that was actually coded by Nintendo was Donkey Kong Jr. So my aim was just to collect all of the ones pre-Donkey Kong Jr. I'd seen pictures of Sky Skipper, just flyers, black and white flyers and marquees, but I'd never actually ever seen a full-size upright cabinet. I didn't even know if it existed, or even if it was ever made. But then finally, I found a PCB, an actual board set, up in the north of England marked Popeye. So Nintendo had actually factory modified it to play Popeye, because obviously they didn't want to get rid of the hardware. And I got my good friend Mark Whiting to re-engineer the board, which was a long process, took us about 3 months, but we finally nailed it. And we managed to get not one, but 2 working Sky Skipper boards, which is absolutely unbelievable.
Well, I tell you, getting the boards was the first major accomplishment, there's no doubt. It's a much longer road. Everything that came after that, I think, just added on and added on and added on. And there were many times where we didn't know if we were actually going to be able to finish this and even put it up here on stage for everybody to see. But I will say this, not speaking for Alex, but I know the sentiment's the same. We're humbled that so many people are here and have shown interest in this. And we thank everybody for making the time and coming to SFG and seeing the labor of our love. And so, real quick, I've got a couple people that I think we need to thank before we get into yanking the cover off this thing and showing, do you think it's going to start? Do you think it's going to work?
Probably not.
Okay, all right. There's always a chance that I forgot something, but I'm going to hope that we didn't, okay? So it's a 50-50 shot. But real quick, is a couple of shout outs just real fast. I've got a couple people I want to thank. First and foremost, this gentleman right here. Does everybody know Richard Lynn?
No.
This old game. Yes. So Alex and I went through the entire process of the artwork restoration with our third teammate, Ollie Cotton. And when it came time to determine who was going to make this cabinet look better than factory, we knew that there was only one person that we could get in touch with and reach out to, and that was Rich. And so Rich did a fantastic job. And I do want to say that everything that you all see here today, and what you see out on the game floor, and then what we show in our panel discussion this afternoon, I think that's at like 4:30. So we invite everybody to come to that, because Alex and I are going to talk a lot more in depth about the project. We're going to show some of the preliminary artwork, talk about the PCBs, and even some plans that we've got coming up. Okay, after this reveal, because there's a lot more that we've got kind of in store as well. But Rich, we want to thank you, because I know that we brought you a load of work, and he took it with aplomb. And he said, guys, we'll get this done, and it was unbelievable, man. So Rich, thank you very much. Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Took your time, but we got there.
Yeah, we got there. Perfect. You cannot rush perfection. That much I will say. And real quick, I do want to thank my good buddy Jonathan. Jonathan Wildson up here in the front row. Jonathan was a huge help to me. He came up. Yeah, stand up, Jonathan. Yeah, so when it came time to restore the cabinet and everything, Jonathan reached out to me and he said, hey, dude, I know what you want this to look like. Do you need a second set of hands? And I never claimed to be the brightest bulb in the bunch. And I said, but I knew that right then and there I needed the help. And I was like, Jonathan, come on, buddy. And we hammered on it. And I believe that the results definitely speak for themselves. So we didn't leave any stone unturned. I know that. So I mentioned Ollie. So you want to talk about Ollie for a second real fast?
Yeah, Ollie's, he does a lot of the artwork in the UK.
Yeah.
And then he just seemed the best choice, really.
Yeah.
I know him as a good friend. So, yeah, got to thank Ollie. Mark Whiting obviously did the engineering of the board. Steve, Atari Tubin, who supplied us with the flyer originally. We had something to go off.
Yeah.
And John Porch, who's helped us with what we're going to chat about in the panel discussion a bit later on.
Yeah, exactly. So as you can see, it was a whole group of people, and everybody contributed to the project. And I do want to say, last but certainly not least, the person that put up with me the most, 2 of them, be my wife, number 1, and then my co-host Brent Griffith over here, number 2. So I need to give a shout out and a hand to Brent, because he took it on the project as well, and he said, you know what, man? He goes, I know you're going to do this side thing, but go at it and knock it out. And so Brent, I thank you for that as well, man. So I guess, dude, without further ado, we're pretty much at the time, aren't we? All right. So I'm going to walk around this. Is everybody ready to see this? All right. Now, there's a good chance that it's going to work, okay? There's a good chance that it's not going to work, because, it's 35-year-old technology. I will say this, though. Oh, yeah. We got the cue going? Hang tight for 1 second. Oh, he's doing the build-up. Okay, we'll get this build-up in just a second, all right? One thing that I told Alex about is, I said, Alex, we cannot have anything fail on us on the way, on the trip down. we're going to turn this thing on. It's got to be picture perfect. And he said, mate, what are you going to do to make it perfect like that? That's the best I can do, man. I'm sorry. That's pretty bad. But anyway, so we went through, we rebuilt an extra monitor, we rebuilt an extra power supply. You see Alex brought his extra board set. The only thing that we did not duplicate was the cabinet itself, and I don't know that we would live through another one of those, okay? So we should be good. We got all the fail-safes in play. So are you ready to do it, man? All right, everybody, let's give us a big 3,
right, guys.
2, 1. Are you ready? 3, 2, 1. Sky Skipper!
Oh my God. It looks so great.
Thank you, John. Appreciate it. Appreciate it.
Oh my God.
Thanks a lot, buddy. Thank you.
Turn it on.
All right. Everybody, John Jacobson said, turn it on.
Woo!
All right. Okay. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to turn this thing on. Are you ready? Do it. Okay. I'm back here messing with the plug. Oh, I forgot to plug it up. No, I'm sorry. I'm going to turn it on. Hey, Alex, one thing I forgot to do was restore the power switch. My bad. All right, you ready? Go!
Whoa! It lives!
Excellent.
Alex, play it!
I think you need to do the honor. All right, I'm gonna hold the mic. Yeah, I'm gonna hold the mic right down here.
It looks really good.
Yeah, so for everybody who can't see, Alex is rolling through the game. This, and just as a quick aside, this game is available in Maine for anybody who does want to go out and give it a shot and take a look at it. So Alex is playing through, and fortunately the board has not taken the dive on us yet, so it looks like we're good.
Awesome.
Excellent. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much.
Congrats, Alex.
Hey,
Thanks, John.
Good job, brother.
I think you scored what, 4,400? So I think you set a new world record.
Yeah.
World record on Sky Skipper right here at SFG. How about it?
All right, guys, it's the next day here. I'm with Whitney and Alex again. What's up, guys?
Hey, John.
Hey, John.
So here it is. This is it, guys. I cannot believe how awesome this looks.
Yeah, it does look good.
You guys killed it.
Thank you, man.
It looks so good.
Yeah.
The artwork is. What's that?
Is it what you were expecting?
I mean, we looked at the flyer, you know, and yeah, it is, which is good, right?
Yeah.
It is what I was expecting.
Good.
But seeing it in person and not on a flyer is a different story, right?
It is, yeah.
But the artwork is just so great. I mean, so Whitney,
Yeah.
you went to Nintendo and you scanned all this artwork piece by
did.
piece, right?
I did, and so Alex and I worked directly with Nintendo on this project.
Yeah.
And they sponsored us to go into NOA.
Yeah.
And they worked with us, assigned me a proctor while I was there.
Really?
And lady stayed with me. She manages Nintendo's archives. Wonderful lady. And she stayed with me for 3.5 to 4 hours the afternoon that I was at NOA.
Letting you do this.
And let me do this.
Were you nervous?
Oh, John, I was so nervous, but it was so unbelievable. I mean, I had the caffeine jitters going everywhere, and so I had to scan the cabinet twice because I was shaking so bad.
Really?
But anyway, in all seriousness, yeah, Nintendo worked with us directly. They supported us directly, and we couldn't have asked for a better partner.
That's
in this
awesome.
project. Yes.
So you basically went there with like a flatbed scanner.
I did, yeah. It's one of the see-through
Right.
HP photo scanners.
Yeah.
It's made for scanning vertically.
Yeah.
And so I had my laptop on a table and like a 50-foot USB cord, and I just went to town all over the cabinet
Right.
twice. Yeah.
And so basically you had to scan all, like the site art here obviously couldn't be scanned at once, so you just scanned pieces.
You just scanned it in pieces, and then we went back into Photoshop and then stitched it all back together. Yes.
And you did a really good job because you can't see any seams anywhere.
No.
It's flawless.
Yeah, well,
you know,
we took a lot of time, scanned it all, 1200 DPI.
Right.
Got in no hurry whatsoever, and it was really neat because while I was there at NOA, the lady that manages the archives, she was sitting there watching me, and she's like, I can't believe you're this interested in this game. And I said, trust me, you have no idea how interested we are. And it was cool because she was sitting there going through the list of all of the items that they have in their archive.
Right.
And she goes, hey, have you ever heard of this?
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of that? And she was pulling like really old and rare Nintendo manuals out of the archive. And she goes, have you ever seen this?
wow.
Skyscraper manual.
No, unfortunately.
Oh, that would be
she didn't.
amazing.
It
That's
would
what we
be.
needed.
Yeah.
It would be.
Awesome. So they had cool manuals and stuff.
They did. It was kind of
Was it games you've ever heard of?
Most of them were all games that we've heard of. But
Okay.
They donated to the Museum of Strong. haven't they?
yeah, Strong Museum.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, they've been donating stuff to Strong.
Yeah, and they
They-
were thinking
they
about
have.
donating this.
I think they should actually.
Yeah.
Now-
That's really where it should go. I mean,
Yeah.
it's the last one. It's the last quote unquote original in the world.
Right.
It needs to go someplace like that.
Yeah, and where was it at Nintendo? Because I heard it was in their break room.
Well,
when you were there, where was it?
Yeah, it was in their archive building, but they had pulled it out.
Archive building?
Their archive
You
building.
went into an archive building?
Yes.
Was it like Indiana Jones with the crates and stuff?
Your eyes don't melt. But it was an archive building.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like it doubled as like their shipping and receiving warehouse.
Okay.
And so half of it or a third of it was their archives. The second and third, or the other 2/3 were shipping and receiving, and where they do some of their warranty repairs and things like that.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's kind of look at the cabinet and the artwork and all that. I mean, obviously the site art, he had pieces together with multiple pieces. Now, when you scan the control panel, obviously you had some challenges because you weren't going to take apart their game, right?
I couldn't bring myself to take apart
Because the
their
joystick and the buttons would get in the way of the flatbed scanner, right?
They did, and I took the scanner and I scanned as much over here as I could and as much over here as I could.
Yeah.
And then I have a Canon DSLR, and I just took as high res pictures as I could.
Yeah.
And we just had to do a little bit of a manual labor on stitching everything together, resizing it, and making sure that it came back out properly.
Yeah.
But as you can see, it did.
It looks beautiful.
Yeah.
Now, the instruction card here, is that a piece of paper underneath?
It is.
Okay,
yes.
just like the original. So it's not part of the CPO.
No, it is not.
Right,
It
because
is
they would
not.
probably change that out for different languages, maybe, or something.
Probably, yeah.
Is why they did.
Japanese version,
Yeah,
what
yeah.
they did,
So,
yeah.
yeah.
Now the control panel here is basically your Donkey Kong style wood control panel,
Yeah.
but there is an extra button.
There is, which makes you think it would have gone into production. They were thinking about
Right.
putting it into production.
Yeah.
I actually thought there was only an extra button in the Popeye control panel, but there is one in the DK as well.
My DK and my DK Junior have the
Yeah.
additional button
So it
because
makes-
I flipped them over and looked, and
Right.
I'm like, holy smokes,
Yeah.
man. This thing got closer to production than anybody ever realized.
Right.
But how was DK's? Not
But DK
81?
is a lot older than this,
So
though.
yeah, but this is 81 as well.
Oh, it is.
It's got 81 on the PCB.
Yes.
So,
But this
you know,
came out after. Would it came out
It didn't
after
come
Junior?
out, did it?
Or
It
before?
well, timeline-wise, it would have been after DK Junior.
Okay.
Because this was Popeye took this game's place
Right.
in the timeline.
Okay.
So it was developed in '81 for an '82 release
Okay.
after Donkey Kong Jr.
Okay.
But because of the year that it was developed, like Alex was saying, for '81, we feel that Nintendo, and I'm putting words in quote Nintendo's mouth, so
Right.
just understand that, just based upon what we've seen, that they drilled all of their panels, and then they were just going to use the same panel for Donkey Kong and
everything.
Junior and for Sky Skipper.
Right.
Because if you
Or
flip-
for some other game
or
that
for
might have
some other
required a
game.
second button.
That's
They were
exactly
thinking ahead, right?
I think they were.
Yeah. So what he's saying is that underneath like Donkey Kong control panels, there's actually a second hole.
There is.
Yes.
It's just being covered by the control panel
Exactly.
overlay.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people never see that.
Yeah, I know, or even notice.
Or even notice it. Yeah.
But it makes sense they would make a control panel that would use two buttons because
Yeah.
I'm sure they were thinking eventually we're going to have a game with two buttons.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Space Firebird has two buttons.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, you know. And the interesting thing is they actually went to town with this as well, which a lot of like Donkey Kong 3 didn't have.
It
this
did not, yeah.
instruction DK, which you actually
Neither,
made up.
right, neither did Popeye.
Yeah, neither did Popeye.
And dude, I really like your decals. I've got them on all my machines.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, they're top notch.
Thanks
This
a lot.
is really
Yeah.
cool. They actually went to town on this.
So yeah, this has like the instruction sticker that you see on Donkey Kong Jr. And you had to take a photograph of the original to make this, is that right?
Well, I had to take multiple photographs, and because there's no way I could scan this.
Right.
So I just put my high zoom lens on my camera.
Yeah.
And I just took pictures of
But
this
that was in the
quarters.
right state, wasn't it?
It really
and
was.
You have to send those pictures to John.
And John,
how much work had to go into that.
We had to put so much work into this sticker.
Yeah.
Because the original was so faded, the colors were washed. You could hardly make out any of the text on it.
Really?
So this to get this little sticker, it was an inordinate amount of work.
Wow.
Yeah.
It looks cool, and you can see that, and we'll show some of the gameplay in a second here. But you have to make a flush,
That's right.
a 4-card flush.
Yes, to get extra points. Yeah.
You know, it is a video game after all. So yeah.
You don't have to. I mean, you can go through the game.
Sure, but it's a way to get extra points,
Exactly.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you're playing for high score, you'd want to follow those instructions,
there's a
right?
lot there for the high score players.
Right.
If they want it.
And then, so the marquee, I mean, the bezel, you were able to take the bezel off of the machine and lay it flat?
Fortunately, I was.
Yeah.
And I've got some pictures where I was doing the scanning.
Yeah.
Where I was able to take the marquee off and the bezel off. I'll shoot a couple of them over to you.
Yeah.
See them. It's good. It's good.
Yeah, well, they'll be in the
Very
video.
interesting.
They're playing right now.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah. Hey, you know what? Yeah, you're right.
So did
It's
it
kind of hard to wrap my head around it.
Did it have the lip on it? On the bezel?
No, it did not have the
didn't.
lip on it.
It didn't have the metal.
No.
Well, it was turned around.
Oh, okay.
And I cannot
That
stand
happens
it
sometimes.
When that happens.
Yeah.
And so I had to get in the back of the cabinet and reach through to lift it out. And I know the lady that was watching me, I know she was just kind of chuckling because she's like, I can't believe you guys are this dedicated to
Right.
something like this. And I'm like, trust me, there's a whole community that of us that we love this
Right.
stuff. Yes.
Now, you decided to use the single coin door.
Yes.
And I've seen that a lot on the very early games.
Yes, well, on
Like-
the flyer, it's got the single coin door.
On the flyer, right.
It does, but the one at NOA had two, didn't it?
It did, Alex.
But we
yes.
thought we'd go with the flyer.
With the one single player, yeah.
Because you're right, Alex. Because if you look at the flyer, that's how the game was going to be billed to
Right.
sell.
Yeah.
We feel that the one at Nintendo, because it was used for earn testing,
Yeah.
and it had a credit switch on it, that they probably put the 2-slot door on it once they moved it into their break room.
Yeah.
Just so that the employees could run by and just hit the button,
Right.
and then just point it up and play it. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that is a repro coin door from Take Man.
It is.
Yeah.
That is one of Troy's coin doors.
Yep.
Because that is really the only concession that I feel that we had to make, because I've got one and it is just completely busted up and broken and dented, and it looks horrible.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I mean, this thing's beautiful, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
And by the way, the sides here have a laminate on it. That I think it's some of the best like DK style laminate I've ever seen.
Yeah, no, thank you.
And it's ultra thin. You're telling me it was like a 64th of an inch? Is
It
that right?
Yeah.
Or
and
32nd? What is it?
It's 64th, and
Yeah.
it comes in a super tight roll.
Yeah.
And so you can roll it and unroll it. It's very durable, but at the same point, it ships really well.
Right.
So if you go out to our project website, it's skyskipperproject.com.
Okay.
Just subscribe to the site, and
Yeah.
I have every intention of getting all the part numbers, the model numbers for all the laminate that we used and everything like that. We'll post it on the site so that if other people want to use what we use to restore a Donkey Kong or a Popeye,
right.
I mean, I think this is, for a laminate, this is the best way to go.
Right.
It approximates the finish. It's nice and smooth.
It's beautiful. The colors seem spot on.
Thank you.
Have
Yeah,
you put it next to a Donkey Kong? Is it really close to colors?
Yeah, we did.
Really good.
It's really good?
Yeah. And how many? I mean, I don't know, Alex. How many chips did we go through?
We went for a few samples.
Yeah,
before
like
we got there.
like 6 or 7, didn't we?
Some of them had little dimples in them.
Yeah,
didn't
dimples, had a little textured finish.
Yeah, what I like about, because the laminate that I've been buying, the white Wilson art, has a very slight texture to it.
Yeah.
This is like smooth. This is like a car, guys.
This is so smooth.
I mean, it's like a
With
buffed
slight,
car.
with a slight gloss to it as well.
Right.
Which is what
And-
they would have come out
Yeah.
of the factory.
And what I like about it is the laminate itself, it meets the edge of the T-molding perfectly and consistently.
And you're using Bill's perfect true flat.
Yes,
from,
I am. From Chomping Corners.
Yeah.
So that is Bill's T-molding. It's perfect for the game. It went powder coated the marquee bracket, the top marquee bracket, the bottom marquee bracket. Did use one of Bill's reproduction bezel retainers right here. I didn't have any that I'd gotten powder coated I didn't have a good one to spare.
And was the metal parts here powder coated or rattle can?
No, they are powder coated.
Oh, they are?
Yes, these are powder coated.
Wow, it looks good.
So this, and this, all three of the metal parts here are powder coated.
And just so we're clear, guys, this is an original Nintendo cabinet.
It is.
When you got it, it was converted to a Nintendo Versus.
It was.
Yeah.
And it was quite the. Gosh, Alex, it was quite the project.
Yeah, you had a couple to choose from, though, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah.
So I had my Popeye, and then I had this upright Versus, and my Popeye was in decent shape. The Versus was in bad shape.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if I'm going to
sacrifice a game,
I'm going to sacrifice something, I'm going to sacrifice the one that's in the worst shape.
Yeah.
And if I have to Bondo and if I have to sand and then laminate, I'm going to have to do it on either a good cabinet or a bad cabinet.
Right.
So
you picked the bad one.
No,
you made the right choice.
Yeah, thank you.
And the cabinet was originally a Donkey Kong or a Popeye. We just don't know.
We don't know.
It's one of those.
It's one of those.
Okay, so can we look inside?
Yeah, buddy. We can. Yeah.
And you're using a Popeye harness right now, right?
We are, because they factory modified this board from the Skyscraper to Popeye. So they actually put this edge connector on the Skyscraper PCB, and I've left it on because it's just easier to take out than taking all these proprietary connections off, in and out.
So originally it had all the little connectors like Donkey Kong did. Is that right?
Yeah, the one in NOA had all these little connections on.
Yeah.
But the Skyscraper Popeye mods had these on.
Right. So what they did was they took the Skyscraper PCB.
Yeah.
They put it on this plate.
Yeah.
And then they basically wired all the little connectors to this edge connector adapter, right?
Yes.
So it had the Popeye pinout.
Exactly.
That's
right.
exactly right.
So they could take this board, stick it in a Popeye.
Yeah.
That's
So
it.
it's really interesting because obviously Nintendo made production Skyscraper boards.
Yeah.
They didn't want to throw them out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they decided to convert it to Popeye.
Yeah.
And then you know what they did? They said, we can't send this garbage to the U.S.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
It's like this is
we get on your shit. We get
That's
your
what they.
hamburgers,
I
now we
bet
go the other shit.
that's what they did. They said, "Oh, we can't send this Frankenstein board to one of our U.S.
Yeah,
customers.
yeah, yeah.
Who cares about those blokes over there?"
So one was in Swedish hands,
Oh, really?
which I was going to.
that's good Swedish, John.
Which I was contemplating on buying, but he hadn't re-engineered it back.
Yeah.
My good friend who does all my work on the PCBs,
Yeah.
I asked him whether he could do it. He said, not without the schematics, not with just one board.
Right.
And it just so happened 3 months later, incredibly, I found another
That's
one.
just ridiculous that you
Yeah.
found two of the boards.
Well, the other one was up on his forum for about 5 years. I don't think anyone had offered him any money for it.
Really?
Yeah. So I bought the one off the Swedish guy for a couple of £100, you know, but it was running Popeye. It hadn't been modded.
Right. So he didn't know what he had.
No, he knew what he had.
Oh, he did?
Kind of, yeah, because the game was dumped into MAME.
Right.
So he knew that the setup on the ROMs, I mean, I don't quite understand it.
Yeah.
But he could...
The location of the ROMs?
Exactly, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. On
So like
MAME.
the ROM names in MAME
Yes,
were
matched his
the
board.
coordinates for the ROMs.
Exactly.
Right.
So whoever dumped that in MAME,
Yeah.
got a lot to thank for.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And you were saying before it was possibly someone inside Nintendo.
Yes, well, I got a message from one of the MAME devs saying that it was someone at Factor 5 that got into the Skyscraper game at NOA and took the board out, dumped it into MAME and quickly put it back again. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Well, yeah, we can't mention any names.
Right, but if that wouldn't have happened,
we wouldn't
you
have
wouldn't be able to do
well,
this.
we wouldn't know
That's
what that
exactly
was.
right.
Right.
We wouldn't even know what the game was.
Right.
You know.
So that's how you figured it out from
Yes.
from the ROM names.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
And because it was dumped into MAME, you were able to burn new ROMs.
Exactly. So when Whitney got to NOA, I said, Whitney, you've got to get inside that cabinet. I need to know that PCB in there matches mine.
And it did.
You know, and it did. Because he'd bought the PCB.
Yeah.
You know, I could have sold him a bootleg.
Right,
or something,
right.
You know what I mean?
So it's exactly the same board.
Exactly the same, but without the plate.
And there's no other Nintendo game that has this board configuration that we know of, right?
That we know of. That's exactly
No,
right.
so it's got the King Syndicate features labeled.
Oh,
on there
that was
because
the
obviously-
Popeye license.
Yeah, they
That's
didn't
it.
have the license for Popeye, so
Yeah.
they had to put that sticker on there.
Yeah.
But you can see down, I don't know if you can see, but the code for this board is TNX1, and that is a Skyscraper code. And you see the date there, 1981.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Why is the Z80 scratched off?
the Nintendo scratched all of them off.
Oh, really?
All the problems were scratched.
Really?
Which made even more problems for us. 'Cause we couldn't replace. We didn't know which ones they were to replace.
Right. So you had a friend of yours that you knew remove all the Popeye mods. Is that right?
Yeah, and he had to get around the security chip as well.
He did.
Which Nintendo had put on.
So it was like encryption or something, or okay,
probably, yeah.
okay.
I mean, I don't know the technical
Right.
ins and outs of it, but
Yeah.
it took him about 3 months to re-engineer it.
To re-engineer it,
Yeah.
and then burn the ROMs. I mean, that must have been amazing the first time you saw it
Oh,
in a
mate.
cabinet. I mean, I would have lost my mind.
Well, he kept calling me up, we've got something. I'd go around there, he'd have graphics moving and stuff,
Yeah.
but it'd just be blocky.
Oh.
You know, so he was getting there.
Yeah.
But it took a long time. A
That
lot of
is
hard work.
amazing.
Yeah.
And then you have the power supply, which is a standard like Popeye power supply.
Yeah, it's a PP900A power supply.
Yeah.
So what's really fortunate about this, John, is that Alex and I, at almost every turn thus far,
Yeah.
have been blessed with good fortune on this
Right.
because when it comes time to hook up the board, it just runs off a standard Popeye power supply.
Right.
No, you don't have to.
No new weird voltages
no
or
weird
something.
voltages or
Yeah.
anything like that. So I, as you can see by the label,
You capped it.
Yeah, I rebuilt the power
Wow,
supply.
I've never capped a Nintendo power supply.
Well,
they always work.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, buddy. We had a lot riding on this,
Yeah.
so I wasn't going to take any chances at all. And what's wild is, I rebuilt the monitor here.
Yep, at 20Z.
Yeah, 20EZ, and cleaned it all up and everything.
Looks great.
Thank you. And I washed it down with a garden hose and managed not to kill myself. That's an accomplishment.
It's super clean.
Yeah, thank you. And as Alex will say, I'm a bit of a perfectionist.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I can tell that you are. This is beautiful.
Yeah, thank you. And I actually wound up rebuilding a second monitor and a second power supply.
Just in case?
Just to bring it to SFG, just in case something went
Did you bring a
down.
second board?
Yeah.
Yeah, he did.
Oh, you did? You brought yours?
Actually, yeah, we
Just
got
in case.
we got the second board with us as well.
That's
Yeah.
hilarious.
Yeah.
And then obviously just standard isolation transformer
Yes,
and the little terminal thing there.
Everything else is standard. I mean, it's got a service switch in it. It has a coin counter, but
That's from the Versus.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
Versus. It's kind of meaningless.
Right.
But
And then you made this little backdrop. Is that new?
yeah, I did. No, I made that. So I had to cut that myself because
It was missing.
it was the one that was in the cabinet was just tattered and torn. And
Right.
It was just really.
It's just
really
a piece of
bad.
paper.
Yeah,
And then
it's just heavy construction paper from like a Michaels.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And then here's the tag, guys.
Yes.
So this is serial number 13, and
is.
you chose 13 because Nintendo
Made 12.
made 12.
That's
So this
exactly
is the
right.
13th one.
This is the
and do I
13th
get
one.
the 14th?
Alex has 14th, and then we'll bump you. How about that? Yeah.
So that's right. Alex is 14,
Yeah,
of
Alex
course,
is
duh.
14. So
Don't leave me out.
we got to take care of everybody, man. Got to take care of everybody.
You can be 15.
Okay,
So-
I'll be 50.
so-
I'd be honored. Thank
Yeah,
you.
no worries, man. We'll get you taken care of. So that serial number tag is silk screened. Rich at this old game silk screened those by hand.
Really?
And
So is the number stamped in there?
it is, yes.
Really?
Rich stamped those in by hand for us.
Did he really?
Sure did. Yeah.
I'm trying to remember, like Nintendo's serial number scheme. Is it like that, linear like that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
You know, I don't know. I mean, I really
like on
don't
Donkey
know.
Kong, like how do the serial numbers go? I mean,
know, I'm
it's cool.
looking-
I think it is.
Is it linear like that? It
you
is.
know, if you go on Clav, there's a thread. You know, Camaro Murph on Clav.
Yeah. Mhm.
He's got like a Donkey Kong registry, and the serial numbers are all over the map.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's hard to say yes or no.
Right.
I mean,
But it doesn't matter. For
Yeah.
for this purpose, that's perfect.
that's exactly right. For this
Right.
purpose, we knew that there were 12.
Right. And this is the 13th.
In the cabinet that donated its artwork for this was serial number 1.
Yeah.
This becomes number 13, and Alex gets number 14,
Yeah.
and then we roll up from there.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, guys, you nailed it, man.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. So, Whitney, what happens when this board dies? I mean, what are you gonna do?
John, I tell you, you hit the nail on the head, buddy.
Because you guys got the only 2 that aren't inside Nintendo.
Yeah. So right now there's 4 boards on the face of planet Earth. Okay, only 2 of them work. So my board works. Alex's board.
Oh, right.
Works.
There was that one on eBay.
The one on eBay.
Yes, that I was bidding on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
John, I'll tell you, a lot of people were bidding
Yeah.
on that. Yeah, we were watching it. That board actually went to Japan. We know that for a fact.
It was missing parts, I heard.
It was missing parts. It was incomplete. But for somebody who is after original hardware, it is a part of the puzzle.
Yeah. Right.
Now that's board number 3. Board number 4 is in serial number 0001 at NOA.
Right.
But it doesn't work right now. It will not boot. Okay.
The game won't, it's not a power supply issue or something?
I don't know. I couldn't tell. You know, I mean, I was doing good to keep the bezel out.
Yeah.
And I stopped.
You didn't want
there.
to fix their game.
No, I didn't want somebody saying that you left it in worse condition than we gave it.
Right.
Because trust me, Nintendo supported us so much.
Yeah, you didn't want to push your luck.
I didn't want to push my luck. So Nintendo, thank you for everything you've done for us. But the question is, what happens when these boards fail? Right now we're up a creek because we have no good solution right now if these boards fail. No schematics, no anything. And if these boards fail, then the only existing historical documentation of Skyskipper truly fails. Okay, from a hardware perspective. Right. Now, what we are working on is a board that you can use to modify your existing Popeye boards. So you have to own Popeye, okay?
Yep.
And if we can get that working, then that will serve as our backup for our Skyskipper boards, okay? And when we have that ready, we'll announce it on our website. Just subscribe to our website. It's skyskipperproject.com. And then that's how we're going to preserve Skyskipper over the duration.
Amazing.
Because it is, even right now, every time we turn it on, we're almost, honestly, we're kind of afraid it won't come on.
Right.
So we have got to preserve this because we're really just one board failure away from never being able to recreate it again.
Which is sad, really. Because the game's cool.
Yeah.
And by the way, we got to see the game.
As it is.
Oh, your board's twitchy?
Yeah.
It's got connection issues.
It does.
Yeah.
Can we see the gameplay, by the way?
Alex, yeah, it's all you, man.
I mean, we're talking about the cabinet and the artwork. We haven't even seen the game.
So it's kind of like a multi-directional. It's not really a shooter. I mean, you can bomb in it, but really you're just trying to pick up these little characters which have their cards on them. So you've got the spades, the clubs, and then you see they're sitting in the kind of landscape right now, but as soon as you bomb the gorilla, they will pop up. Okay?
And now you can grab them.
You can grab them. Now, if you get them in order, you can get a flash, which is represented at the top here.
Yeah, so in the top left there, it shows the last 4 cards you got.
Yeah, and you've got speed here, and it runs on an 8-way joystick, which is really cool. It works really well. So you're now going to get that jack.
Yeah, I was playing it earlier. It has a nice 360-degree feel to it.
It's got a gyrus kind of feel to it, doesn't it? It really works for the mechanic.
You've got a fuel gauge at the top, so you know if you're going around point pressing, you're going to run out of fuel. So you can refuel at this flag area here. All you got to do is touch the flag, and it refuel.
Gotcha.
But you will lose points for that.
So the fuel gauge is on the top there.
On the top.
Right. And then on the bottom left, this is kind of a map.
Yeah.
Right, where the hearts are and stuff?
Yeah, that tells you where the rest of the cards are. They're on the left side of the screen of the map.
And the object of the game is to get all of the cards.
Exactly. And then it's on to the next level. And there's 4 levels, which I've looped twice now. And it gets a lot harder. There's a lot of replay. And actually some of the cards are repositioned in different places when you loop it the second time, which I noticed yesterday. So, you know, you think you're learning the whole level, the first level, and then you've looped it and they've rearranged the cards.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I mean, it is a really fun
Look
game.
at how the gorilla's in the cage again. There's just like, Nintendo just loves this stuff, right?
They do.
Which is really amazing is the detail in the characters and the plane. You can see the little propeller going around.
Yeah, I love it.
Isn't that cool?
The environments are really blocky. That's pretty reminiscent of Popeye, really.
It is, yeah.
It is.
You know, because they kind of built the Popeye levels the same way.
They did.
With these big squares.
Yeah, and you know, Johnny, it's one of those scenarios where if you look at how smooth the screen scrolls in multiple directions simultaneously, I mean, I think it stands to reason that Nintendo was doing a lot with this hardware, and so if they had to make some concessions on the sprites in the background, I think they chose right because the sprites look really good. The backgrounds are they're blocky, but
they're functional.
They're functional.
It totally works.
Yeah, it totally works.
I really wasn't criticizing the graphics on the background.
Yeah.
It just reminds me of Popeye because Popeye had those big squares, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we've had some people who've asked us. They say, "Do you think the game is finished?" Because
Right.
the background
I think it is.
blocky.
Yeah, it is finished.
And
I think it is.
I think it is as well.
But didn't John Porchy say that it was finished?
I
Because he
believe
went
so.
through all the code,
Yeah,
didn't he?
I think so.
He said it was finished.
Yeah,
Look at that.
I love that explosion.
yeah, it's cool.
That's
isn't it?
really cool.
Yeah.
So that's awesome, guys.
Yeah.
Well, man, you guys nailed it.
Thank you, John. John, I think
Your support.
Guys,
Yeah, John,
these guys are doing God's work, truly. I mean, so thank them.
Well, John, I tell you what, we thank you because you've been really supportive of us.
Oh, well, thanks,
Alex
man.
and I
Yeah, we do
have
appreciate
worked real hard, and we appreciate what you do for
thanks,
the whole
man.
community, and it's a teamwork effort.
Yeah.
And so thank you for what
You guys
do.
nailed it. So,
Yeah.
Cheers, John.
all right, love you guys.
John.
And by the way, guys, check out Alex's YouTube channel, Nintendo Arcade.
Yeah.
You do a lot of like walkthroughs.
Yeah, game room tours at people's collections. which is
In the
quite
UK
fun.
though,
In the
so you
UK.
see a lot of different stuff that the US guys aren't showing.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I did my first game room tour of Whitney's over here.
Yeah, it was
Oh, is
awesome
that's your
too.
first US game
Yeah,
tour?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of
Next
fun.
time it's yours.
Yeah. So Nintendo Arcade, and also Alex has an amazing collection. You've got a Nintendo Sheriff,
Yeah. Space launcher.
Space Launcher. You've got the Sega,
Sega Sheriff.
the Cabaret.
Yeah.
What do they call those cabarets? What?
Trimline.
The Trimline cabarets, which are a lot taller.
Yeah.
You guys might remember we saw those in Kumo Craig's.
That's right, yeah, pretty cool.
And then of course Whitney has Broken Token podcast.
Yeah,
so-
we're a long. Thanks, John. We're a long format podcast. We've been running around 4 years now, but we kind of split the topics on pinball and video, and we get like knee deep in everything.
Yeah.
So I tell you what, we're great classic arcade talk radio.
That's right.
Yeah, NPR style, buddy. That's us.
Awesome, guys. Well, thanks and great work.
All right, thanks,
guys,
John.
let's go back down to the basement. All right, guys, there you have it. That was the Sky Skipper. What'd you think? Guys, that thing is amazing. As a Nintendo fanboy, I have to tell you, I couldn't, like, just looking at it and knowing that Nintendo really made that, knowing that artwork was really Nintendo, knowing that that code was really Nintendo, knowing that was not some fan-created monstrosity, that was a legit Nintendo game. With legit Nintendo artwork, just like this, you know, it looks like this. Oh my God, I'm so jealous of that. And you know, we're gonna probably build one on this channel. Maybe next summer, who knows? But you know what? I really have to thank Alex and Whitney. Those guys are awesome. You know, I hung out with them all weekend long. I love them. I really do. I really got to know them over the weekend, and what a bunch of great guys. Just top-notch guys, honestly. So definitely check them out. You know, Alex has a YouTube channel at Nintendo Arcade here on YouTube. Go check that out. Whitney has a podcast called Broken Token. But what a bunch of great guys, honestly. And again, guys, thank you so much for letting me document this over the weekend. It was a real privilege. I truly mean that. So, and what a great weekend. I filmed a couple more videos down in Atlanta. We'll be revisiting that soon. And also I have a Fun Spot video, a really long walkthrough of Fun Spot that we'll be doing too sometime here in the next few weeks. But we got stuff to do. Journey's still down. I had so many people over the weekend ask me about Journey. Hey John, is the Journey monitor fixed? No, it's not. But what a great weekend. I have to go to bed though. It's very late. So, all right, let's do some viewer mail. If you guys want to participate in the viewer mail, you got to email them to me at john@johnsarcade.com. And by the way, I put the popcorn machine back together. It did fall in the beginning. It appears to be fine, so. I know that you guys have always said, John, you got to replace the table. The popcorn machine's going to fall off one day. Well, it did. So anyway, if you guys want to participate in the viewer mail, email them to me at john@johnsarcade.com. It could be a question. It could be a comment. It could be whatever, john@johnsarcade.com. All right, the first one here is from Savitor. God, I am parched, man. It's been a long day. Hello, John. He says, the subject line, you have inspired yet another, he says. Hello, John. You have inspired yet another. While watching your first live stream, I searched my local area and found a game I was interested in. The price was a little high, but after a month, it dropped by $200, so I went for it. My first arcade machine. Congrats, man. I know I probably paid too much. Okay, now listen to this, guys. Now, I know I probably paid too much. Oh, dropped by $200. Now, he says, I thought he paid $200. Okay, now I know I probably paid too much, but I figured two factors. Number one, it's a fairly uncommon game, and more importantly, it's my favoriteest game ever. It is Bagman. Dude, that's a rare game. That's a valuable game. That's an awesome game. I actually had an opportunity to get a Bagman a long time ago. Actually, the guy I bought my Whirlwind from had a Bagman. And I contacted him months later, maybe a year later after I bought the Whirlwind, and it was gone. I didn't get it. Anyway, he says it works well, but I noticed there's some minor sound issues, as well as a very slight graphic glitch as well. Where would you begin troubleshooting? Oh, man. Longtime fan and subscriber. Keep up the awesome work. Thanks for all you do. Salvatore. You know, these kind of questions are always hard to answer, okay? But I always tell you what I would do first, you know, and if this stuff doesn't work, then you got to take the board to someone that could fix it, you know, that has a logic probe and can really get into the nuts and bolts of it. But whenever I have like graphic glitches and stuff, you know, I try to reseat the ROMs. You could try to verify the ROMs if you have a ROM or reader and burner. You know, the sound issues. I mean, I guess always start with the basics first, check the voltages. But honestly, I'm a reseater. I do it all the time. It fixes a lot of stuff. You could try just carefully pushing on all the ROMs. This is advice I give all the time, but it's fixed so much of this stuff for me. I've never owned a Bagman. I'm not familiar with it. I'm going to leave it up to the viewers maybe to leave some comments. Maybe you guys know. But again, always check connections, check voltages. It could be a RAM issue. You know, are the RAMs socketed? Can you push on those or reseat those? But that's the layman advice I'm going to give you. If none of those things fix it, you might want to reach out to someone that repairs boards and maybe send the board to them. But you got to make sure the voltages and the connections are all good first. But anyway, congrats to you on the Bagman. It's such a cool game, guys. I like how the guy talks, like hamana, 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 hamana. So, anyway, if anyone knows maybe what you should look for, also leave comments below. All right, the next one here is from James. He says, I picked this up locally. It's got a bubble bobble board, but obviously it didn't start its life as a bubble bobble. Any idea what it was? It's got an odd pull-out tray. Thanks for all you do. All right, so he sent me some photos. Let me show them right here. Okay, I've never seen this cabinet ever. Now, I'm wondering, you're not in the UK, are you? So, okay, there's something weird about it. Okay, whenever I see weird games like this, I always just assume they're like a poker or something. But this is probably going to be silly what I say, but that control panel smells like Nintendo. I'm probably totally wrong though, but I don't know what it is. Do you guys know? Leave a comment below. It's a crazy looking cabinet. It truly is though. But that red control panel with those joysticks remind me of like some weird Play Choice 10s I've seen before. I'm sure that's not what it is, but, and then I don't know what the pull-out thing is on the right there. That's really weird. Is that a drink holder? Oh, I bet it is, because the control panel was angled down and they had a piece of wood that pulled out to put your drink on. I bet you that was the purpose of that. I wonder if that was a poker machine. I don't know. I've never seen that. Does anyone know? Leave a comment. So James, thanks for writing in. All right, the next one here is from David Miller. He says, hey, John, Brofest 2017 was great. This was my first time attending an arcade tournament. I immediately felt I was amongst friends. You did a great job with the event, and Clint should be commended on his tireless efforts tracking and logging player scores. And since Pole Position 2 is one of your favorite games, I'll let it slide, having you edge me out in the final standings. I look forward to next year. Sincerely, David Miller. So, David, thanks for coming. Yeah, Brofest was a lot of fun. And Pole Position 2 was in the tournament, and that's the game I played the most. I played it over and over and over and over. And actually, I learned some stuff about the game I never knew. And maybe we'll talk about that in some upcoming videos. We learned some maybe secrets about Pole Position. And anytime I learn something new, it's like mind blown. I told my friend Matt McCarthy too this stuff, and he was like, "What?" And we were trying to. the game's awesome, guys. But yeah, thanks everyone. And yeah, Clint, oh my God, he is the hardest working man in arcade tournaments. I mean, he was recording scores after score after score all weekend long. And of course, again, thanks to everyone that came. And I'll be doing that video soon here. I don't know what I'm gonna do next because I really gotta get caught up. I have like 4 videos in the can now from Atlanta and Fun Spot. So I don't know. Do I do those videos? Do we work on stuff? The weather's really good. Today was like in the 90s. I want to be in the garage, but Journey is looming over me like a dark cloud. I want to work on the Mortal Kombat. By the way, the iRobot, I talked to a friend of mine, P-Man, and I'm going to send him the PCB. And he said he said he would look at it. I'm going to do that. So I'm going to take him up on that and send it to him. And then the Firefox, we got to look at that and put the basement back together. And then we got to bring Cloak and Dagger down here. I got to finish that. My God, Cloak and Dagger is what I really want to work on because I know I can knock that out in a weekend. Maybe this weekend we'll do that. We'll see. But I do have some traveling going on the next week here too, so I don't know. So if there's a little bit of a lag here in videos in the next week, I am traveling, but after that, the summer's wide open, so we'll be back to normal soon, I promise. The next one here's from John Vaughn. Hey John, I've been in the hobby for about a year now, and and have since become a huge fan of your channel. I'm writing this as a positive review of your search method for Craigslist and other for sale sites. So yeah, I did those live streams where I kind of showed you guys how to search Craigslist and how I search Craigslist. We'll do that again. Did you guys like that? Because I do want to do, I don't want to do it like every week, maybe once a month, every 2 months, but it was definitely fun. So anyway, going on. I recently was able to pick up a Donkey Kong Jr. for a steal of a price, and I believe I owe it to the methods you preach for searching Craigslist. Awesome, dude. I found my DK Jr. on the Facebook Marketplace. Interesting. And while I didn't use your exact search string, the method you suggest is why I believe I found the game first, even though it had been listed for a few days at a very low price. While I typically start with the search term arcade, which everybody does, including me, okay, I later decided to use keywords. I typed Donkey Kong this time instead of the generic arcade term, and sure enough, the Donkey Kong Jr. popped up simply as Donkey Kong without the word arcade anywhere in the listing. The game is in great working condition and only needs new site art. Well, I just wanted to put in a good word and say thanks for the tips and videos. Keep up the good work, John. I always look forward to watching your videos, especially the on-the-road home arcade tours. You've got a lifelong fan in South Carolina. Respectfully, Adam V. P.S. When you talk to Greg again, tell him his fans are eagerly awaiting on more arcade and possible. Actually, I talked to Greg a few weeks ago. I will let him know the next time I talk to him. But anyway, let's show some pictures here of his Donkey Kong Jr. All right, man, that thing looks great. Now you didn't say what you paid, but you said it was a deal. And that's awesome, dude. Enjoy that game. Junior's so awesome, man. And are you going to get the Donkey Kong Jr. remix mod for it? Or even a high score save kit? I would. Makes the game that much better. But congrats, dude. And yeah, you know, when you're searching on Craigslist, don't always use the search term arcade because a lot of people list stuff for sale and they don't put that word in there. They just don't. You know, like they'll look at the game, they'll say for sale Dragon's Lair. That's it. They don't put Dragon's Lair Arcade. So look for very specific game titles when you're searching for stuff that you want. So anyway, that's it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm going to finish editing this, upload it, and then I'm going to bed because it's been a very long day. So we actually, so Whitney, Alex, and I got up like around 8:30 to film that third part in the video. So, and then I had to go to the airport, and here I am. So I'm going to bed. So hope you guys enjoyed it. So I'll see you very soon. Later, and bye.